Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Trill Gates. Well, it's come down to this, a runoff election for the mayor of Anchorage. Last month, Anchorage voters narrowed down the field from 10 candidates to 2. Mayor Dave Bronson and former Assembly Chair Suzanne LaFrance are hoping to get your vote in this runoff election. We wanted to sit down with them one more time to hear how they plan to better your way of life in the city of Anchorage. In this first installment in the Road to the Runoff series, we talk with Mayor Dave Bronson, who appears first on the ballot. Mayor Dave Bronson wants 3 more years as the leader of the city of Anchorage. I sat down with him at his home in South Anchorage. I began by asking the mayor what his top priorities would be if he's reelected.
Top 3 priorities: cooking that natural gas, keeping the port on task, making the building of homes cheaper, easier, faster, and then dealing with effectively the homeless issue, because that touches just about everything else.
The homeless issue has been a sticking point between the mayor and the Anchorage Assembly. They've had a difficult time seeing eye to eye on possible solutions, leaving the problem of sheltering mostly unsolved. Say the voters put you in for 3 more years. How are you in the Assembly going to get things done?
I would think more rational minds would prevail, and with some of the newer Assembly members, it's gotten better. It really has. And there's some folks that have been around for a while. They're still quite dogmatic, especially on this homeless issue. The thing to understand, and as I say this often, is that, and I've said it to you, I agree with the Assembly probably 70% of the time.
When you're talking to voters, how are you convincing people? Because really, as when you're campaigning, like, why should people vote for you?
We know where we're going. If you choose a path, these paths are very, they telegraph the end game.
And the mayor says the path he's chosen is much different than his opponent's, former Assembly Chairperson Suzanne LaFrance.
If you go her way, Chris Constant's way, the Assembly majority's way, it winds up as something. And I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like a Chaz district in downtown Seattle. It looks like homelessness in Portland. It looks like crime and feces on the street in San Francisco. It means something crystal clear, because, I'm that balance to that woke worldview.
When it comes to taxes, what if anything would you change about the way people are taxed locally?
The way you reduce your property taxes is to spend less. And that's why I presented budget after budget. I could support a sales tax, maybe 3%. That's a common number bandied about. The trouble with that is it would have to be dollar for dollar reduction in property taxes.
I also talked to the mayor about public safety and his recent appointment of Anchorage's first female police chief, Bianca Cross. I wanted to know how she was chosen.
I've been spending a lot of time talking to police officers. So I says, hey, gut feel. I'd run into them at the library. I'd run into them on the street, or when I'm walking with them and I just say, hey, who'd make a good police chief? And Bianca's name kept coming to the top.
And Mayor Bronson has high hopes for the city's new chief.
She's very polished, very professional, and there is a bit of a political skill set to being a police chief, and she's got that skill set.
I also asked the mayor what his hopes are for Election Day, May 14th.
The electorate always makes the right decision. If it's not me, that's fine. I will support who's ever in the office and to the degree that I can, and we just carry on. But with bad decisions can come sometimes great pain, and I'm trying to avoid that pain for this city, because I'm going to grow old and get fat and die in this city. And I'm doing very well in 2 of those 3. So I deeply love the city. I've been here for 33 plus years, nearly 34 years, and I think we're turning a corner here because there's been balance in government.
Coming up next on the Road to the Runoff, we'll continue our conversation with Mayor Dave Bronson. In fact, we'll ask him to fill out a report card on the city's performance as well as his opponents. Welcome back to the Road to the Runoff. I'm Trill Gates. We're continuing our conversation with Mayor Dave Bronson. He's one of the 2 remaining candidates in the race for mayor of Anchorage. He's facing former Assembly Chairperson Suzanne LaFrance in a runoff election that wraps up Tuesday, May 14th. It's not quite the end of the school year, but I thought we'd do a little do a little test.
Grading.
We'd do a little grading.
Okay.
So there you go. There's your scoreboard. And I'm gonna give you some subjects, and you're going to grade them. Give me a grade for your relationship with the Assembly.
At large, I would say. I would say.
Okay, C minus. So, say you're reelected next 3 years. What are you going to do to get it to an A?
I think we'll stay on the path that we've been on here for the last several months, which is work with them, talk with them. But every relationship, like a marriage, it's a two-way street. Turn down the energy over there. I'm just going to sit there and take whatever they throw my way, good or bad. I don't activate. Do I disagree with them? Yeah, I have a responsibility to disagree with them. I'm that buffer. That's the balance that we have in government.
Give me a grade for your connection, and this is really just your opinion, right? Your connection with the people of Anchorage.
Well, I'm only exposed to the people I'm exposed to, and I get really good feedback. I spend a lot of time in the public with people, like a lot of time. And when I'm in public, I have people coming up and shaking my hand. You're doing a great job. Don't worry about the snow plowing. And I get this over and over and over again.
There we go. That's a B plus.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you. How would you grade Anchorage's snow removal this year? And that looks like that's a big B plus.
If I'm grading the actual people who removed the snow, it would have been an A. It went down to a B plus because of other factors that were involved. So if you want to know what I would grade Paul Van Lanningham and his crew, A plus, right in there.
Okay.
But there's other factors that are involved. The snow removal issue this year, we got over 40 inches of snow, very wet snow, all at once. And this is the Arctic or near the Arctic, and sometimes we get big storms in the southeast. They get hurricanes, but every once in a while you have a Katrina. We had a Katrina.
How would you grade your opponent's performance during her time on the Assembly?
Well, it comes down to data. When she came in, her budget for the Assembly was $3.7 million a year, and when she left, it was 8.9. When I came in, my budget was, I think, 2.8, and I think it's about 2.6. So the numbers answer themselves. I think about all that money they spent during her time in office. They spent $247 million on homelessness in this city, long before I got here. $247 million. Boy, could I use that money now.
Okay, I see a C minus.
Since Suzanne LaFrance came into office in 2017, and homelessness has gotten profoundly worse. It's probably generous giving her C minus. I mean, to be blunt. The city's at stake here.
Coming up next, we talk with Suzanne LaFrance and find out what she hopes to do for the people of Anchorage if she's elected mayor. We also ask her to grade the mayor and how the city's performed recently. That's all coming up next when the Road to the Runoff continues. Welcome back to our special series, The Road to the Runoff. I'm Trill Gates. Election Day is a little over a week away. It's Tuesday, May 14th. Voters in Anchorage started seeing ballots in their mailbox this past week. Who will be Anchorage's next mayor? Well, we've heard from Mayor Dave Bronson, and now it's time to hear from his challenger, Suzanne LaFrance, and what her hopes are for the city of Anchorage.
We live in such an amazing place with so much potential, and we are just not leaning into that. And we all know there have been some real issues in the last 3 years, and whether that's the snow not being removed or the severe staffing shortages that we have at the municipality, and we're not getting a plan from this mayor.
I'm curious because you've lived here a long time. Is there a mayor that you have in mind, or I guess an assembly mayor team that you felt was really effective in our city's history, in our city's past?
Yeah, well, and I confess, at that time I probably looked more at what the mayor was doing, and so, with Tony Knowles, the Coastal Trail, and with Mark Begich, the Denina Center, and those are the kinds of things that stand out.
What are you telling people to convince them to vote for you, or I guess, what are they asking you?
People tell me all about the ways in which they're frustrated, from snow removal to, what seems like an endless string of scandals and lawsuits and wasted taxpayer dollars. And not to mention homelessness as well. And now, we have this big crisis of staffing at the police department.
I asked Suzanne about the recent change in leadership within the Anchorage Police Department. Last month, Mayor Dave Bronson announced the retirement of Chief Michael Curl and the appointment of Captain Bianca Cross as the city's first female police chief.
Well, it's unusual to make a big leadership change during an election, and many of us knew that Chief Curl was planning to retire, and many thanks to Chief Curl for his years of service to our community, and congratulations to Captain Cross as well. I was surprised that the focus of the mayor wasn't on this staffing crisis at APD, because we're down over 50 sworn officers and another 30 or so support staff, and people tell me all the time that they don't feel safe.
So how do we do it? How do we get more police officers on the street, or more people choosing to be police officers in our city?
Well, we've got to offer competitive wages and benefits, and it's important to work with the unions, because they've got that close-up view of what is it that their members want. We also need to make sure that Anchorage is a place where people want to live, including our public safety officers, and that they want to raise their families here.
I also asked Suzanne for some concrete examples of what she would do if elected mayor to help solve Anchorage's homeless problem.
The first thing we need to do is get out of crisis mode, right? I hear from people all the time, members of the private sector, individuals, members of the faith communities, some of the state agencies and nonprofits too, where they want to bring resources and ideas to the table, but right now there just isn't a table. And the municipality has a convening power to bring stakeholders in and to help with coming up with a coordinated plan.
And LaFrance believes the solution lies in a cooperative effort.
And that convening power and working with stakeholders to make sure that folks have a way to access treatment and get housing.
You mentioned bringing people together at the table. Mm-hmm. Do you really think that has been missing?
I do, yes. There's a lot of frustration, and we just have not seen a plan from the mayor's office, and that's the job of the mayor, is to bring forward a plan and then to work to get that support and work with the assembly.
We got down to more specifics. I asked Suzanne if elected, would she change anything about the way people are taxed locally?
We've got to make sure that taxpayers are first and foremost getting a good return on their tax dollar. And then we do need to talk about, those other ways we might invest in ourselves. And there's a lot of interest right now in talking about a sales tax. And I think that's a good conversation for our community to have.
But you would support a conversation
Absolutely.
Around a sales tax.
At the end of the day, it's going to be decided by the voters.
And if the voters decide to elect Suzanne LaFrance as mayor, we wanted to know what her top priorities would be once she takes office.
The first thing is to assess and triage. There are a lot of problems right now at the municipality. Starting with the finances. We've got to get the finances in order. The second thing is to address the crisis at APD with staffing. Public safety is the most important job of the municipality. It's the most important job of the mayor. And then finally, we need to make significant progress on this issue of Anchorage as a place where people want to live and can afford to live.
Coming up next, just like we did for Mayor Bronson, we asked Suzanne LaFrance to grade the city's recent performance. We'll also see what mark she gives Mayor Bronson. Stay with us. Welcome back to our special, The Road to the Runoff. I'm Trill Gates. We're continuing our conversation with Suzanne LaFrance. She's one of the 2 remaining candidates in the race for mayor of Anchorage. She's facing current Mayor Dave Bronson in a runoff election that wraps up Tuesday, May 14th. We continued our conversation by asking her to play a fun little game. You get the whiteboard and the marker. And since it's, we're wrapping up the school year, report cards are going out. We'll do a little report card. I will give you the topic.
Okay.
And then you give the subject or the topic a grade. We're going to do A, B, C, D, F. And you can use pluses and minuses if you want to. We'll start with a big one, grading the city's performance overall.
I give it an NI, needs improvement. First of all, we need to close the books and get the city's finances in order. We don't even know how much money that we have as a municipality. And I'm talking about the books from 2022 even. So that's a real indication that things could be better. And again, the staffing crisis at APD, the failure to remove the snow from the streets the last 2 winters, definitely a number of areas need improvement.
How would you grade Anchorage's snow removal this year?
I'm going to go with needs improvement. We've got some great employees who worked really hard and, given the constraints, I think did a really great job. But, we need to stand back and take a look at 3 areas. And one, are the jobs competitive for snowplow operators? They haven't been. We need to take a look at the number, too, of operators that we have. Next, we need to have an equipment audit and make sure that we've got the right equipment. And then finally, we've got to do a better job of coordinating with the state. I think people found out the hard way that a lot of roads are state roads. And then the last part, too, is communicating with the school district. All those school closures the last couple years were really very impactful on families.
How do you feel about your connection to the people of Anchorage? What grade would you give yourself on that?
Well, that one is, my connection to the people of Anchorage is always, I think it's always growing and expanding. And even if I have a conversation with someone who's not a fan, I learn from it, and there's an opportunity too for each of us to look at things differently. So I don't know that it lends itself to a grade because the semester there isn't done.
So let's go to, how would you grade Mayor Bronson's performance during his time this past almost 3 years?
Yeah, it's an F. It's a failing grade. With all the lawsuits and the scandals and the wasted taxpayer money, never mind the staffing crisis at APD, and public safety is the most important job of the mayor. I think it's also just this effort to divide us. We need to be working together, right? We need to be focused on solving problems and making this a better place to live. It's such an incredible place to live. It has so much potential.
But the only grade that really counts is the one that voters will give the candidates in this runoff election for mayor of Anchorage. We'll have details on when and how you can vote when our special, The Road to the Runoff, continues in just a moment. Stay with us. Finally tonight, a reminder that the special runoff election day for mayor of Anchorage is Tuesday, May 14th. Ballots were mailed out to voters earlier this week. There are several ways you can vote. First, you can fill out your ballot and mail it back or drop it off at one of the secure drop boxes around town. If you prefer to drop it off in person or vote in person, you'll be able to do so starting Tuesday, May 7th, because that's when Anchorage vote centers will be open. There are 3 Anchorage vote centers, the Lusac Library and City Hall in Anchorage, and at Eagle River Town Center. Again, the runoff election day is Tuesday, May 14th. And that does it for us. We hope you enjoyed our special program, The Road to the Runoff. I'm Trill Gates. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Good night.